Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. This is the business edition. So if you want to come on by to catch the show live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays. Before we dive on in, if you are in need of a website, maybe you're building out a website for your new business, whatever else, have a look at A2 Hosting. I have my affiliate link there, tlm.li/A2H. You can get your hosting as little as $3 a month for starting with a shared server, VPS starting at $5. These ones at $5 have nothing but just the basic server, raw basic Linux server. I pay a little bit more and get a cPanel one just because of how many clients I use and things like that. So we're gonna do a dedicated server, $100. That's always fun as well. But you can have a look at the offerings that they have. They have free SSLs, a lot of good service. I've been with the company now about 2 or 3 years. I forget exactly how long I've been with them, but I've been happy with it. So let's go ahead and dive on into the news. All right, first and foremost, everyone's ordering delivery, but the apps are not making any money. They're all still running on investor capital. We talked, of course, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I forget about DoorDash. And, DoorDash was selling the guy's pizzas back to him for half of what it cost him to actually make them. So he's like making money selling his own pizzas to himself. You know, they're like, it's investor money. We don't really care. And it's all just this giant mad dash to keep the prices as low as possible. See which one of them will dominate the market. So we have Uber Eats and Grubhub and DoorDash all fighting against each other. And the people that are using the services are saying, yeah, it kind of helps with some things, although the commissions keep going up and up and up. So some people that are using these services have stopped using them. From the store owner standpoint, because they're going, it's easier for me to just hire my own delivery guys, and I know I have better quality service. Basically, they're saying that the complaints went up when you were using these services because the people doing them are not necessarily as good as actual store employees might be. And but at the end of the line, after interviewing a lot of the companies here, almost every one of them is either losing money or breaking even. They're not even coming close. They're just plowing along, losing money or breaking pretty close to even. And that's kind of what we expect. I mean, you'd have to jack up your prices a whole lot more to actually justify that. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. All right, Uber can now allow you to book a $50 per hour ride, making multiple stops along the way. You can schedule a trip for up to 7 hours at a time. Remember how they were trying to sell you their services as, Lyft is much bigger on this than Uber, but the Uber's doing it to a lesser degree. They're trying to get people to renounce car ownership. It costs so much money to own a car, just use our free service instead. This is all great for the people who actually want to own all the cars, lay off the people, and have an autonomous fleet where they're the only ones that own the cars. That is their end goal in mind, people. If you're using these services, that's the stuff you're supporting. Okay, you're not supporting a gig economy. You're not supporting these. The drivers are the necessary, unfortunate reality of their current business. They want autonomous vehicle fleets where they own all the stuff, and then they have actual control, and then you've renounced your vehicle. Well, now we're jumping back up to $50 an hour. So let's see. If we start doing the $50 an hour, I bet that this is going to get over your $9,000 a year to own a car, which, by the way, that's assuming that you are the average American who's lost their brain cells and is leasing or taking out these massive $400, $500 car payments on cars you can't even afford. And yeah, if you're paying out all this interest on leases and really big expensive cars that you can't actually afford, and the full insurance of it all and all this kind of stuff, yeah, you're paying $9,000. But you know what? I don't think I put $9,000 in my car the entire 10 years I've had it. For crying out loud, people. I think I dropped cash on it for $6,000. I think I had to fix, a couple things. I don't know. I might be over 10 or 11,000 in the 10 years. I think I'm going on 11 years on my car, actually. I've spent less than $1,000 a year total on the thing. So no, I'll keep my car and my $50 an hour. Thank you, Uber. But hey, of course they're building this out as so that you can be sure you have the same guy the whole day, so that you're not getting these COVID infectees in your car with you. That's kind of what they're using to push it. Of course, I don't know if they're changing their tune to talk about something about rioters or protesters in the streets or something, burning down buildings or whatever else. I mean, sure, it might be worth $50 an hour to have someone else's car get shot up instead of mine when I drive downtown to the riot, but, you know, whatever that happens to be. Whatever. All right. Publishers sue the Internet Archive over the open library ebook lending. Now, I did a deep dive. If you guys are unaware, I have a channel that mostly caters to writers and authors, where I did a 10-minute deep dive into this one issue. So I'm going to link that video here. Go check out my channel. It's called Writing Done Right. We do a lot of tutorials on LibreOffice and a lot of the ins and outs of how to take a book and get it published and out into the distribution networks, all using Linux and free open source software. So that's what I do on that channel. But every now and again, we hit a news article like this, which interfaces with the authors, and I like to cover it. So what's happening here is that the Internet Archive, in response to the library shutdown, say, hey, we're just going to remove wait lists and push out copies of ebooks, irregardless of how many copies we have, with no wait lists for the duration of this pandemic. The problem is that went so afoul with copyright law that now all the big publishers are coming in, and it's very possible that if Internet Archive does not very quickly settle this, Internet Archive could very feasibly die, which would be a very tragic loss. But to be honest, they did something really stupid in doing this. It's one thing that Internet Archive has a copy of a book, scans it in, and makes a copy and distributes it, which, by the way, is already a violation of copyright, because a print book and an ebook are under completely different licenses. And unless they secure the license to use an ebook, technically they're not allowed to do that. But as long as they did it like libraries did it, the publishing companies didn't care. They looked at it and said, you know what? We don't really care. That's okay. They're lending out just like the libraries. Whatever. They didn't care. But at the point in time that the Internet Archive decided that they wanted to have one copy and just unlimited lend this out, and these were books that are still in copyright, they're still available for sale, including the ebooks. The ebooks are rentable from your library, and many libraries still have the systems in place. They went in on this without taking extra precautions. I mean, a first-year flunky lawyer would have told them this is a stupid idea. But they just went ahead with it, saying, oh, it's because of the COVID, so we're going to be okay. And the four big publishers came down and whack. And hopefully the Internet Archive will be like, okay, that was bad. They'll do a settlement out of court, and the publishers will probably drop the lawsuit at that point in time, and the Internet Archive survives, albeit they'll be smarting some wounds for a while. That's a very good probability of what'll happen if the Internet Archive has brain cells rubbing together. If they try and fight it, they are absolutely unequivocally going to lose. Now, and for you guys who are like, oh, well, stick it to the big publishers anyway. Guys, you have to understand what it takes to write a book, okay? I've been working my last science fiction novel, which was Synaptergy. It took me about 9 months to write it and get everything all produced. And then near the end, I wasn't going to meet my deadline, so I ended up hiring out $300 in extra services to pay other people to help me meet my deadlines on time, which we were able to do that. But I ended up being out $300 plus well over 500 hours of my personal time to get this book out. And if Internet Archive gets a copy of the book and says, unlimited people can rent it, that is a serious hit to my bottom line. I'm sorry, but there's a reason authors do charge money. And for the people that say, well, that's just the big publishers, they shouldn't be stealing from the authors anyway. Guys, understand that for the most part, when an author works with a publisher, it's a really good deal for the author. If you're working with a slimy vanity press, it's a bad deal and you shouldn't be using vanity press anyway. But most cases, the author keeps the copyright. The author gets a large portion of the royalties. And if you're dealing with the major publishers that these guys are dealing with, the author actually received a huge upfront payout for that book as well. This is a really good deal to work with these publishers. And Internet Archive's just turning around and just give them out for free. Blatant violation. So if they try and fight it, they're kind of foolish. So it'd be interesting to see where you're going. But if you want to see a more deeper dive on all this, I'll link the video there so you can go and watch that. All right. Now on to some exciting FCC news. We have a 1, 2, 3 bang. First and foremost, if you guys did not get a chance to see this, come on, Vice, get rid of that stupid app. Thank you. So TV stations broke the law in airing an Amazon propaganda as news, many experts say. So if you didn't actually see this, what happened here is Amazon released a press release out to a whole bunch of stations, and they put together one of these composite
Millions
things.
of Americans staying at home are relying on Amazon.
Millions of Americans staying at home are relying on Amazon.
Millions of Americans staying at home are relying on Amazon.
Okay, and it goes on. Basically, Amazon says to them, hey, here's a news article for you. And all these, and they gave him footage. They told him exactly what to say. They gave him the exact script. And so all of these TV stations just reported it as is. But there's actually a little law in the FCC and in broadcast communications that says you cannot air PR as news only if the broadcaster fails to disclose where the promotional material originated. None of these said, hey, this is a press release from Amazon. They all reported it as news. So this is basically running afoul of Section 317 of the Communications Act. And basically it's like, hey, we're going to pay you guys. Here's the script. Here's the video. Here's all this kind of stuff. Where's the FCC? Sipping some coffee out of the Reese's mug, apparently. All right. And on to the next one. This is kind of an update. We did actually talked about this a while back. But if you remember this one, Frontier was literally charging users a rental fee if they had their own modem because they said, well, it costs us to support their own device. Which, by the way, their trademark says we don't support your own device. But because of all of the lockdowns, the FCC issues a 6-month delay on banning rental fees for equipment that customers own. So the FCC is out to lunch, completely out to lunch. They're like, 6-month delay, you can keep collecting that payment. So now a whole lot of people are going to be paying Frontier an extra 6 months rental fees for equipment that they own. People, it is about time to completely disband the FCC and completely take Frontier, strip every executive of all of their assets, close the company down, sell it to someone else, and distribute their assets among all of their customers who have been cheated. Come on, guys. This is so blatantly wrong. And the FCC, who's supposed to be standing up and actually doing something about this, is doing nothing. Sipping some coffee from his Reese's mug. So, yeah, we're not going to get into that any further. But, yeah, well, actually, let's look at their quote. As the nation tackles the COVID pandemic, multi-channel video programming distributors and providers of fixed broadband internet services are among the entities that integrate Commission's ongoing nationwide effort to keep Americans informed. So these service providers may focus their resources on critical effort. We provide additional flexibility and providers to fix their broadband internet services to fulfill their obligations. Yeah, they fulfill their obligations by not cheating people and robbing people by charging them fees for things that we hadn't seen. All right, now, are you guys ready? Because in this microwave culture where we still think, like, remember when as soon as the net neutrality was repealed and the very next day, Asia Shut Your Pie Hole did that cringeworthy video, oh, look, I can still snap my Instagram. Oh, look, I get all these. As if changing a law instantly changes everything overnight. And half the people, like most of the world's completely forgot about net neutrality, especially half your towns are burning to the ground. So what's going on here now is that we're finally seeing it. The first case, HBO Max will not hit AT&T's data caps, but Netflix and Disney Plus do. This, people, is what we were warning you about. Here it comes. This is the first one. Where's the FCC? Still sipping coffee from the Hershey's mug, not doing nothing. This is what happens in a world without net neutrality. You're on AT&T. Hey, you got data caps now. I'm really sorry about your Netflix and Disney. That counts against your data cap. But HBO doesn't. You should buy HBO instead. This, people, is exactly what we've been telling you about. This is the first case, and I promise you, after about 3 to 6 months, this is not going to do anything. Everyone's going to get momentarily outraged. No one's going to do anything. Nobody's going to say anything. And in about 1 year's time, you're going to start to see all of the big ISPs start catering to their own individual groups of streaming services. You're going to have no data caps for one streaming service. You're going to have data caps for another streaming service, unless you want to pay more to release the data cap on the other streaming service. This is what's coming on down the pipeline. Of course, since we don't have choices in who our ISP is, because we have what's called a monopoly in my city, I will have to be, if I use streaming services at all, which I don't, I will have to be, basically forced onto whatever streaming service that my ISP wants me to have. Interesting. This is what we were warning about. It doesn't happen overnight. This is it first starting to show up. So with that, let me know your thoughts to this and the other articles in the comments down below.